Words are not just communication, they are weapons. Every sentence you speak to a woman is doing one of two things: lifting your value or destroying it. There is no neutral space, no harmless sentence, no just talking. The moment you speak, you are either attracting or pushing her away, creating desire or creating boredom. Most men use language only to pass information. They explain, they answer, they talk too much because silence scares them. They don't understand that words carry energy. Every sound has weight. Certain combinations of words can slip past a woman's logical mind and speak directly to the ancient parts of her brain, the parts that control attraction, attachment, and fixation. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He saw empires rise and collapse not because of stronger armies, but because of stronger language. He watched leaders turn enemies into allies and doubters into believers using rhythm, timing, and structure, not force. What he never openly wrote, what he understood too well to spell out, is that the same law rules desire. By the end of this, you'll understand why your words have been working against you. You'll learn specific linguistic patterns that quietly build emotional dependence. And there is one technique, the fifth, so precise and psychologically powerful that when used correctly, it creates a form of emotional addiction she cannot explain. Your words will replay in her mind at 2 a.m. She'll analyze them, feel them, want more, without knowing why. Now let's break it down. The first art, the loaded assumption. In 48 BC, Cleopatra needed access to Julius Caesar. Her brother controlled the palace. Guards and assassins blocked every path. A direct approach meant death. So, she had herself rolled inside a carpet and delivered as a gift. When the carpet opened and she stood before Caesar, she didn't beg. She didn't explain. She didn't ask. She simply said, "I was wondering how long it would take you to send for me." One sentence, but it assumed everything. That he wanted her there, that he had been waiting, that the alliance already existed in his mind. Caesar, the most powerful man alive, wasn't disarmed by beauty alone. He was disarmed by language. This is the power of the loaded assumption. Most men speak like applicants. Would you like to get coffee? Can I have your number? Do you come here often? Every question hands her control. She judges. You wait. The man who understands verbal attraction doesn't ask for permission to exist in her world. He speaks as if he already belongs. Instead of, "Would you like to get dinner?" he says, "There's a place I'm taking you Thursday. You'll hate how good it is." Instead of, "Can I call you?" he says, "When I call you tomorrow, don't be doing something boring." This isn't arrogance, it's structure. The loaded assumption creates a reality before her conscious mind reacts. Her brain accepts the frame first, then tries to justify it. Cleopatra didn't ask Caesar to help her. She placed him inside a story where helping her already made sense. The rest of the night, he wasn't deciding. He was rationalizing why he wanted to. Your words must do the same. Create the reality, let her logic catch up later. The second art, strategic confession. At the court of Louis XIV lived a woman named Ninon de l'Enclos. She wasn't the youngest, not the richest, not the most connected, yet powerful men fell apart for her. Dukes abandoned families, thinkers obsessed over her. She remained desired into her 70s. Her secret wasn't mystery, it was controlled openness. Selective vulnerability creates more power than fake perfection. But this is where most men fail. They confess weakness to seek comfort. They share insecurity to get reassurance. They dump emotional weight and expect a woman to heal them. That destroys attraction instantly. Strategic confession is different. You reveal a carefully chosen flaw. Not damage, but depth. Not fragility, but awareness. Not self-pity, but ownership. Ninon would say, "I find it hard to respect men who agree with everything I say. It bores me, and I become cruel when I'm bored." She admitted a flaw, but the confession showed standards, self-knowledge, and challenge. Men didn't see weakness. They saw a woman who fully knew herself and became desperate to earn her respect. When done correctly, confession becomes a weapon. You might say, "I have a problem. When someone truly fascinates me, I forget to pretend I'm not paying attention." Or, "I should warn you, I have very little patience for shallow conversations. If we talk, it gets real fast. These sound vulnerable. But look deeper. The first hides a compliment inside self-criticism. The second separates you from ordinary men. Strategic confession says, I know my darkness, I control it, I'm not afraid to show it. And that signal, self-awareness without neediness, is something most men are terrified to project. Complete psychological integration. You're not hiding anything, you're not acting, you're not performing a role, you are dangerously whole. The third art, the temporal shift. There's a reason fortune tellers have captivated kings and influenced nations. They understood something most men never learn. The future is more seductive than the present. When you speak to a woman in the present tense, you are negotiating. When you speak to her in the future tense, you are declaring destiny. And destiny bypasses resistance. The temporal shift is the art of speaking as if you and her already share a future. As if the connection has already started, the intimacy has already grown, the bond has already formed. Watch what happens when you stop asking and start assuming forward. Instead of saying, I'd like to see you again, you say, when we look back on tonight in a few months, we're going to laugh about how nervous you were. Instead of, what kind of food do you like? You say, I'm already imagining the argument we're going to have about where to eat. You seem like someone with strong opinions. Instead of, tell me about yourself, you say, I'm curious what stories you'll tell me when you finally trust me. Every sentence pushes her imagination into a future that includes you. Her mind must build that future just to understand what you said. She pictures the argument, she imagines the laughter, she feels the moment of trust. And here's the psychological trap. Whatever the mind vividly imagines, it slowly begins to want. You're not asking her to choose you, you're letting her imagination do the seduction for you. By the time she consciously decides whether she wants this future, her unconscious has already designed it. Napoleon understood this when he wrote to Josephine, I wake up filled with your memory, I will hold you in 2 days. He didn't say, I hope to see you. He stated the future as a fact. Her mind accepted the frame. Her body responded to the certainty. The temporal shift works because humans are not logical creatures weighing options. We are story-driven creatures living inside narratives. The man who places her inside a compelling future becomes the author of her desire. The fourth art, the poisoned compliment. This is where most men expose their neediness. They give compliments like beggars offering coins, hoping for approval, grateful if she accepts. You're so beautiful. You have amazing eyes. I love your smile. Each one gives away power. Each one says, I see your value and I hope you reward me for noticing. Women have heard these since they were teenagers. They create nothing. No tension, no curiosity, no pull. They fade into the background. The poisoned compliment is different. It's a compliment with a splinter inside. Something that lifts her up while creating uncertainty. Something that gives with one hand while holding back with the other. Look closely at these examples. You're intimidatingly intelligent. Most men probably can't handle that. On the surface, you're praising her intelligence. Underneath, you separate yourself from ordinary men. You suggest that others are threatened while you are not. Now you and her stand above the crowd together. There's something unsettling about the way you carry yourself, like you know exactly what you're doing and you're waiting to see who notices. This isn't a simple compliment. It's an accusation wrapped in admiration. You've seen something others miss. The word unsettling creates tension. She'll want to know what you mean, why it unsettles you, whether it's a good thing or a dangerous one. I'm trying to figure out what it is about you that makes me want to stay in this conversation when I should have left 20 minutes ago. You've praised her pull, but you've also shown resistance. You were supposed to leave. Something about her stopped you. Now she feels powerful and curious about the conflict happening inside you. The poisoned compliment works because it doesn't resolve cleanly. It leaves something behind. She can't just smile and say thank you. She has to sit with it. Turn it over in her mind. Wonder about the parts you didn't explain, you didn't say it, and this is how obsession begins. Not with satisfaction, but with beautiful incompleteness. The fifth art, The emotional pendulum. In 1532, Anne Boleyn did something that altered the course of English history. King Henry VIII, the most powerful man in England, wanted her. He sent letters overflowing with desire. He offered her everything: jewels, status, power, his bed. She refused, but she didn't refuse cleanly. She moved back and forth. One week she was warm and receptive. Her letters hinted at possibility. The next, she was distant and cold. Warmth, then frost, then warmth again. Then ice. Henry lost control. He broke from the Catholic Church. He dissolved monasteries. He rewrote the religious structure of an entire nation. All because one woman understood the emotional pendulum. This is the fifth deadly art, and it is the one that creates addiction. Most men believe consistency creates trust. They think steady affection proves reliability, so they stay emotionally stable. Warm, available, predictable. This is the fastest path to friendship, and friendship is where desire goes to die. The emotional pendulum works on the same neurological rule that governs all addiction: intermittent reinforcement. The same mechanism that makes gambling destructive makes this technique devastating. When reward is predictable, the brain adapts. Dopamine drops, interest fades. But when reward is unpredictable, sometimes present, sometimes gone, the brain becomes obsessed. It searches for patterns, it invests more attention, more emotion, more hope. You apply the emotional pendulum through language. In one interaction, you are fully present. Your words carry heat. Your compliments are precise. You share something personal. She feels chosen. In the next interaction, you are slightly distant. Your replies are shorter. The warmth has pulled back. You're still kind, but distracted. Present, but not fully available. She feels uncertainty. Then the warmth returns, but not completely, and not permanently. This movement must never be explained, never justified, never acknowledged. It simply exists, like weather, like tides. She will try to decode it. She will analyze what she did differently. She will pour enormous psychological energy into recreating the version of you that made her feel most alive. This is not cruelty, this is emotional honesty. You are not a machine that delivers affection on demand. You are a complex man with inner seasons. Sometimes you are available, sometimes you are absorbed in your own world. The difference between manipulation and authenticity is simple. The manipulator swings emotions on purpose. The integrated man shifts naturally, because his life does not orbit around her. When your warmth is not guaranteed, it becomes valuable. When your attention is not constant, it becomes meaningful. When you cannot be predicted, you cannot be dismissed. Anne Boleyn understood this. Availability destroys value. She made a king dismantle his religion, not through beauty, but through rhythm. The sixth art, the identity hook. Here is the line that separates amateurs from masters. Compliments fade, observations remain. When you tell a woman she is beautiful, you give her a pleasant moment. She will forget it by morning. When you tell a woman who she is, when you name something she secretly believes about herself but has never heard spoken, you become unforgettable. This is the identity hook. It works because every human being longs to be truly seen. Most people move through life misunderstood. They present a polished version of themselves. They hide the parts they fear won't be accepted. And beneath all of that, they ache for someone to look past the mask. When you do this for a woman, you become different from every other man. You become the one who understood. The identity hook requires real observation. It cannot be faked. You must watch, listen, notice contradictions. She appears confident, but laughs too quickly at her own jokes. She claims independence, yet relaxes when you take the lead. She says she hates drama, but every story includes chaos. You gently name the pattern, without blame, without judgment. You know what I notice about you? You perform certainty. But underneath that, there's someone who feels things deeply, deeper than you let anyone see. And I think that scares you. Watch her reaction. Her expression shifts. Something behind her eyes moves. You touched a wire no one else found. She will not forget this. She can't, because you gave language to something she has always felt but never heard spoken. You have carried it alone for years, now it has been named. You made the invisible visible. The identity hook creates a bond that goes beyond attraction. It marks the beginning of emotional dependence, because once someone has truly seen you, really seen you, the idea of losing that witness becomes unbearable. The seventh art, the unfinished sentence. The human mind has a compulsive need to complete things. When a song stops before the final note, we feel discomfort. When a story ends without resolution, it stays with us for years. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished experiences stay in the mind far longer than completed ones. The master of verbal seduction understands something most men do not. Conversations are not meant to be finished. They are meant to be suspended. The unfinished sentence is the art of stopping just before the meaning, leaving the thought open, walking away before the story resolves. There's something I want to tell you, but I don't think you're ready to hear it. Stop, change the subject, say nothing more, or, I figured out what it is about you, the thing that makes you different. Actually, never mind, it's not the right moment. Smile. Move on. She will return to this. She will ask. She will push. She will want to know. And even when you eventually give her part of the answer, you leave it incomplete again. This is not a trick. This is understanding that mystery is not created by silence alone. It is created by interrupted revelation, by the sense that there is always something deeper beneath the surface, by the promise of depth that never fully reveals itself. When you master this art, she begins to feel that fully knowing you is always just out of reach, and reaching becomes the obsession. These 7 arts are not tools to be used mechanically, they are languages to be spoken fluently. The loaded assumption sets your frame. The strategic confession shows your integration. The temporal shift hijacks her imagination. The poison compliment creates beautiful unrest. The emotional pendulum generates addiction. The identity hook forges an unbreakable bond. The unfinished sentence ensures she always wants more. Together, they create something beyond seduction. They create psychological gravity. The ordinary man speaks to express himself. The strategic man speaks to create effects. But the master understands this. Words are architecture. Every sentence builds a room she will mentally live inside. Every phrase shapes the reality she experiences. When you internalize this, conversations change. You stop trying to impress. You start designing emotional experiences. You stop hoping she likes you. You start creating investment. This is not manipulation. This is recognizing that language is never neutral. Every word carries weight. Every silence carries meaning. The only question is whether you use this power consciously or remain unaware of it. Machiavelli spent his final years in exile. He watched lesser men rule kingdoms he understood better than anyone, and he wrote. He documented the laws of power that most people are too comfortable to confront. What you have learned here comes from that same tradition. Uncomfortable, unflattering, true. The woman you desire is not waiting for you to be nicer. She is waiting for you to be more dangerous, more interesting, more unpredictable. Not dangerous in a crude way, dangerous because you cannot be easily categorized, because you do not behave like the hundreds of forgettable men before you. Your words have edges, your silences have weight, and when you speak from this awareness, something shifts. She stops evaluating, she starts feeling, she stops judging, she starts wondering, and wonder. That suspended curiosity, that beautiful uncertainty, is where desire is born. The man who masters words masters worlds, not because he manipulates, but because he understands that reality is not fixed. It is spoken into existence, one sentence at a time. Speak carefully, speak deliberately. Speak as if your words are shaping the reality she will remember, because they are.